here in Prince George's County, Maryland, outside the County Administrative Building. This is where the Office of Planning, along with the land records, are all located. We're going to go on inside right now, and I'm going to do a little bit of research, and I'm going to show you how to do the research yourself. Let's go on inside. The Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission actually is responsible for zoning in Montgomery County, Maryland, and Prince George's County, Maryland. So we're here over in the Prince George's County side. We're here at the Office of Information, so we're going to go on inside, and they're going to actually let us demonstrate to you how you do your research at the planning office. Let's go on inside. So here we are in the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Office in Prince George's County, and this is their information center. So this would be the first place that you go to when you want to get information about zoning. Now, real quick, let me show you this. This is the actual zoning map that shows when zoning came into place in Prince George's County. So we can see, like right here is Greenbelt, Maryland. In 1939 is when they first established zoning for Greenbelt. You can see Greenbelt here, you can see 1953, 1941 for Landover, 1927 for Bladensburg and Hyattsville. Now again, remember I told you about the Ambler versus Euclid case that established zoning across the entire country. As soon as Ambler versus Euclid was decided in the Supreme Court, almost every jurisdiction in the country established some kind of a zoning code. The first thing you have to do is create what's called a master plan. Now in Prince George's County, the master plan is actually relatively simple. The Beltway, or the Capital Beltway, that runs around D.C. essentially runs through here. So basically, everything inside the Beltway in Prince George's County is what they call the developed tier. The developed tier. Now, the developed tier is where, in fact, they want to see most of the development. So in Prince George's County, you have 13 metro stations, all of which, or most of which, excuse me, are inside the Beltway, and that's where they want to see the major part of development, the high density. Then you have this other road system that runs over here. It's Route 3 north of Route 50, and then it becomes Route 301 or Crane Highway, which runs all the way through. Now everything between Crane Highway and the Beltway is called the developing tier. The developing tier. And then everything to the east of Route 301 is called the rural tier. Now we'll get more into that when we talk about land development, but for today's exercise, what I really want to demonstrate to you is the fact that in America, most neighborhoods are made up of only 4 to 5 different housing types that tend to get replicated over and over again. So that's 4 to 5 different housing types. Sometimes you got 6 or 7. I'm going to prove that to you conclusively because we're going to start here in the planning office and we're going to look at a subdivision called Collington Station. That's right, Collington Station. Now on the map, this is DC, okay? And right here is Central Avenue. And Central Avenue is basically the extension of East Capitol Street. So basically the Capitol's right about here. And East Capitol Street comes all the way out to the DC line, and then it becomes Central Avenue in Prince George's County, all the way through and out to Anne Arundel County. Collington Station is located approximately right here on the eastern edge of Prince George's County, just before you get into Anne Arundel County. It is a probably typical American subdivision. It was started in the late 1970s, really sort of was built up during the 1980s, 1990s, and really sort of completed just before the year 2000. Now, step over here with me. Because it's an older subdivision, the actual subdivision plot plan is on microfiche. Can you see this okay, Darius? Okay. Now notice this. Here is Central Avenue. Here is Jennings Mill Road, or excuse me, Jennings Mill Drive. And here is Joppa Lane, Jeremiah Lane, Johnsburg Lane. We're going to come into this subdivision and just sort of drive around and see the different housing type. But notice this, even before we go out to actually see the properties, notice how every one of these lots is almost the same. See the uniformity of it? Almost all these lots are between a 1/4 acre and a 1/3 acre, okay? And with the exception of the fact that some are corner lots, right? Almost all of these lots are of the same size and the same type. Again, when we talk about the fact that 80% of the value of any single-family home is determined by the neighborhood, this is why. It's because the fact that there's a uniformity to the way that houses are built in America, and of course that's all it's all influenced by this Ambler versus Euclid decision that happened, and the Supreme Court ruled that any jurisdiction in America that was going to use zoning had to follow the parameters and the outcome of that Ambler versus Euclid case. So again, here we see that because of the zoning code in Prince George's County, almost all of these lots for all these single-family houses are almost about the same size, the same shape, the same configuration. Obviously, you have to make amends for things like creeks and streams and that kind of stuff, But if you look at this subdivision plan, this portion right here, let's see here, we got 41, 46, 50, 56. We got 56 houses here. We have, looks like 39, so we have approximately 40 houses. So we got 56 and 40. So that's going to be, what's that, 86 houses? And then over on this side you have 46 houses. And around here you have 63 houses. So just in this subdivision right here, this part of the subdivision right here, you have almost 200 houses. But I'm going to show you conclusively when we go out here that even though there's 200 lots and 200 houses, there's really only about 4 or 5 basic building types that get replicated over and over again. So with the difference being sort of the subtle distinction on the exterior of the house, all of these houses are the same. This is the reason why 80% of any single-family house is going to be determined by the neighborhood. And if you just stop and think about it, when somebody goes to buy a new house, what are the first 3 questions that they ask? Tell me about the schools, tell me about the crime, tell me about the shopping. Those 3 things are influenced by the neighborhood. And then once they like the neighborhood, then they start looking at the individual houses within the neighborhood. So right here, one of the things I want to show you is this is an actual zoning map for a new part of Prince George's County. Now remember how I said you have to have a master plan? This is the draft final zoning for the Branch Avenue corridor. And again, this is the Capital Beltway around Prince George's County. And then this is a major road that comes through, which is Branch Avenue. Notice the color coding for the different zoning classifications. So OS, which of course would be open space. Come on around so I can show this to you even better. So OS for open space, MXT, which is for mixed use zoning, CO, which you could imagine would be for commercial office, CSC for commercial shopping center, okay, and then R classification, which of course is all of the different residential classifications. R55 being a higher density like an apartment, R18 being like townhouses, RR being sort of rural residential, which is a less dense classification, single-family houses. But notice this, even this area that's not colored in, these are all lots. These are single-family house lots, and notice how they're all sort of uniform in size. But again, the way that we start the process is we have a master plan, then we have an area plan, then we have specific zoning classifications. And along with the map, we also have this, which is the zoning guide. We're going to make this available to you. But I really want you guys to get to know your local county, your local jurisdiction, every one of them, because they're following the decision of Ambler versus Euclid, follows the same basic paradigm or the same basic structure in terms of having a master plan, area plans, zoning, and zoning classifications. And that's the reason why all across the United States of America, if you know the value of the neighborhood, you know 80% of the value of the house. Hope this has been helpful. There's one more thing I wanted to show you before we get out of here, though. Notice this. Here's the actual housing types for this neighborhood, and those two are part of the plans. Now, again, we have it here on microfiche because it's an older subdivision, but again, you can begin to see that a lot of the housing types, here we go. A lot of the housing types are the same house. It's really the same house duplicated over and over again. When we go out into the field, I'll show this to you firsthand. Okay? So in any event, we want to say thank you, and we're very appreciative of our friends here at the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission and the folks over in Prince George's County for letting us come in today and use their facility and videotape. But this is the place where you start, located here in the County Administration Building on the ground floor. This is where you start when you begin to do your research to begin to look at what is the composition of a neighborhood.